Welcome, everybody, to the first official episode of Run With It. And I am your co-host, David, and here with me is Eric.
Good evening, everyone.
Awesome. So essentially, this is going to be a trial run of a podcast that I revamped, and because I had one back in 2018, Eric, and I produced about 9 episodes, but moving around the country kind of posed some problems and made it hard to be consistent with creating content. But I look forward to podcasting. I hope that it'll be fun and it'll be a fun, relaxed environment to talk about everyday topics. But sports is what we're going to focus on primarily.
Exactly. Hopefully not a trial run. Hopefully it's for the long haul.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I do. I really do.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, a little bit about myself. My name is David Polderifkin. I am a resident and a long time of actually West Hartford, Connecticut. But yeah, so I'm from Connecticut. I'm a local guy. I kind of dived into UConn that way, and through that, the Hartford Wolfpack, which is the minor league team to the New York Rangers, and we'll touch more on the Rangers later, but that is my NHL team, given that. I just grew up around it. It was easy to follow. As you know, Eric, you're a Connecticut boy, and Connecticut doesn't have professional sports. We had the Whalers at one point, but outside of that, we're really, we've got some slim pickings. So a lot of us do follow UConn pretty heavily. And with that, I'll share my NFL fandom, which is the New York Jets, and we'll touch on that again as well, because I know, you're
I'm a Giants fan.
Yes, you are. You're a blue. You bleed blue.
Yeah, we'll fight that.
And then outside of those sports, with the NBA, I know we're going to talk a lot about it, but
big topic today to discuss, but absolutely. But
absolutely. I was a Knicks fan growing up for a long time, but then with ownership, and it just made it hard to follow, and it became a very player-heavy league. At least unless you were a Celtics, Laker, and maybe there are some diehard Knicks fans still, but it just became really hard to follow. And there just was, if it wasn't one or two or three or four names, people weren't talking about it.
Exactly.
So that's part of why I also lost a little bit of interest, but we will definitely talk about the NBA. So with that being said, I look to have fun with this, Eric, and I'm glad to be doing this with someone who also likes sports. So what's your take on this?
Well, Dave, you kind of hit a lot of the big ones, that I'm a fan of. So the only ones that really disagree on are football. You're a diehard Jets fan.
Yep.
I'm definitely more of a Giants follower. So,
sure.
I think my fans have had more success over the last, several years, or maybe
I would say
maybe 50 years if you go back to Super Bowl 3, the Joe Namath days. But outside that, you hit the spots right. I'm a big Ranger fan, a big hockey, follower and player.
Right.
Again, that
you do play.
Bit, exactly. Same with the Knicks, man. When I first got into sports when I was very young, the Knicks, and this goes back to the Ewing days.
Right.
Really good team.
Sure.
Ewing and Allen Houston, and even a little before that, with Starks and stuff like that, and it was not as great as the 70s, but it was still a very good team, and that was one of the sports I was really trying to follow. And then turn the millennium, really, that team kind of fell apart. They have not come back ever since. A few stints here and there with Carmelo and stuff like that. So yeah, that sport, I say I follow, but that's pretty much where I leave it at. Like you said, UConn. I am an alumni, going back to the class of 2010.
Yes, Eric, you did go there.
And obviously, I think what's unique about my situation when I was a UConn student was that I would argue the football program was actually better than the basketball program.
When you went there,
when I went there from 2006 2010,
they were winning bowl games.
Jim Calhoun, the great coach he was, I would say.
I heard football. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm saying but those years, I was a student there for 4 years, and they only really did anything one of those years. My junior year, when they went to the Final Four in 2009. Ended up losing to Michigan State. But outside of that, you're talking about 1 year in the NIT, 1 year out in the first round, 1 year not even making it to anything.
No.
So, those, and then, of course, after I graduated, then they won the championship in 2011.
Yep. With Sir Kemba.
Exactly. But yeah, the football team, in those years, and that was when Randy Edsall really took this team by storm. No one ever thought UConn football would be anything relevant around here. And he went from AA to Division I, Big East, flirted with the top of the conference, and then finally in 2011 hit the pinnacle from our perspective, I would say, getting to a BCS
Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, man.
Fiesta Bowl.
Played in Arizona.
And you know what? Yeah, they lost. We kind of expected that.
We did,
but they played their hearts out.
Sure.
And to me, what was so disappointing was the very next day. We heard that Randy Edsall was leaving to go back to Maryland, and while we respect him for doing that, going closer to family, that program has never come anywhere close to what it was. So
no, they haven't. No, they have not.
UConn women's basketball, and again, anybody who's a UConn fan around here knows what UConn women are. They are essentially the highest level of dominance.
Oh,
I would argue in any sport, really. Just the level, the consistency.
Very, yeah.
They're gonna finish, in the American Conference, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Undefeated, really, and that's
tonight,
to me,
they'll know.
To me, that's very special.
Absolutely.
And then you get to UConn men's, and they kind of cycle a little bit of a lull again. But Dan Hurley, here he is, and you can sense that as they made the transition to the Big East, and we can talk about that later. They're on their way back up.
I would really hope so.
Yeah. So as I said, I covered it. Rangers. Men's basketball, UConn sports. Knicks follower, Giants. Yankees. We're big Yankees.
Oh, right.
fans.
Yeah.
And we kind of went over our head, but we're definitely big.
Baseball
Yankees.
season's upon us. In a few weeks.
And it's a long season. I'll give you that.
It's
hard to commit to watching every single game, to say the least. But my dad growing up was a big Yankee fan, born and raised in the Bronx.
Right, that makes sense.
And that's a lot of the sports that I follow came from him.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's kind of where I am with my fandom.
Awesome. No, and again, guys, we're gonna be. Bear with us, because in the beginning we're going to be slightly unpolished, and there might be things that we're going to work out along this process. And if you guys do want to comment or critique, please feel free to reach out to us. Our email associated with the podcast is runwithit24@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. So if you have any questions, please reach out there.
We do have a YouTube page.
We do.
And so on the YouTube page, their channel, Run With It. There's a discussion board, so if there's any topics that you want to see us debate, feel free to send us a comment.
Right.
And we're more happy to, on our next podcast, reach out and maybe debate it, or maybe kind of back and forth. We'll see what happens, but we'd like to get your thoughts as we kind of build up this brand a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely, definitely. So without further ado, let's kind of dive into it.
Let's go.
Perfect.
Let's go.
So what do we got on tap today?
All right, so this is going to be a heavy hitter, and we try not to get too much into the big topics that everyone covers, but I think this day and age, or I should say this year, Tom Brady. I mean, if you're talking about the NFL offseason, there's no bigger domino to fall than Tom Brady, which is very interesting for a man who's 43 years old and has won 6 Super Bowls, been in 9 Super Bowls,
right?
And this is the person that has to make everything fall. Anybody else in his position probably, like Derek Jeter winning his 5 World Series titles, he hits his early 40s. He's like, hey, I had a great career. I'm done. Tom Brady, though,
no,
he's saying, I'm not done. I still have some life left, but he wants it to be under his terms.
He does.
He wants it to be under his terms, and
do you feel like sorry to cut you off? Do you feel like he's being forced out because of of conversations? Because I feel like a lot of teams are talking to him, except for the Patriots.
I won't say he's being forced out, but I think Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He has his brand,
that's a fact.
And you cannot blame him for having his own terms.
Oh, sure.
But the reality,
he's earned that.
But the reality is that football, and you ask any upper management, it's a business.
It is,
and you have to make the right choice. And sometimes the right choice is the difficult one.
Absolutely.
And they're looking at this and saying, "Listen, you're in a hard cap league.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, he's our star. He's our legend.
Yep.
But we just can't give him what he wants right now.
No,
we know
I
we
don't
have to
think
put
so.
a team on the field, especially as long as Bill Belichick's still going to be
correct.
There.
Well,
because everything, Robert Kraft's the owner of this team, but Bill Belichick, he is the day-to-day operator of this team.
Yeah.
He's the one. He knows what he needs to put a product out there that's going to compete.
Yep.
And I don't know how much he's involved with the monetary parts of this, but he's basically saying, we're not going to throw everything to Tom Brady.
No, not now.
And if I had to get a new quarterback into this system that I've developed so successfully, I'm willing to do that. 2008, perfect example. Tom Brady, first game of the year, after that almost undefeated season.
Right.
Fell down. I believe he tore his Achilles, I believe. He had to get surgery. I remember that. And he was gone for the whole year. So here in comes Matt Castle. Didn't really hear much about Matt Castle.
The journeyman from Seattle.
And here you are thinking, okay, I mean, obviously without Tom Brady, you did not think a serious Super Bowl run. But still, they went 11-5 with an unpolished, I don't know if it was a rookie or not, but an unpolished Matt Castle. Went 11-5 on a Tom Brady's team.
Yep.
And to me, and some people agree with this, some people don't, when they ask who's more valuable, Brady or Belichick. I say they're both valuable at what they do, but but if you had to ask me who is more valuable to that franchise, it is Bill Belichick. He is the person who oversees it, makes it work, makes it function, and he proved without Tom Brady that this team could still compete at a decent level. Didn't make the playoffs that year, but they were definitely competing. And so that that's kind of where I leave that. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. Yeah. Before I give my quick opinion, let me just correct myself. I said journeyman from Seattle, and he actually, and I might have been thinking about a different player because I know I am looking at the screen currently. He was actually never with Seattle, so I don't know why I even thought that. But he was with Minnesota, he was with Tennessee, and most recently the Detroit Lions. Yeah. So Seattle made no sense, but he was definitely a journeyman quarterback. And
keep in mind after that year in New England, when he kind of proved himself that he could be a starting quarterback, I believe he went to Kansas City.
Yep, he played there for 4 years.
But unfortunately, and this goes to my theory, is that he goes to Kansas City, and unfortunately, you do not see the results transition.
Not at all.
I don't know if he made the playoffs. I don't think he made the playoffs any of those years when he was there. And he was there a good, I would say, at least 4 or 5 years. I think they were convinced that he was a true starting quarterback, and I think he was, but not the level that you need to compete in the postseason and ultimately win a championship.
Yeah, exactly. Just on that note, to kind of further this topic along, I've been seeing rumors all day about him possibly going to Las Vegas of all teams, but the rumors ended up being very dry, and the end all be all was that the Raiders plan on offering him money. But everything I'm hearing, and again, my opinion is that he's going to sign and play for the for the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
In 2020.
Yep. And I think you and I agree with that. I think everything that I'm hearing. I always go back to a couple of things here. One is you have Mike Vrabel there at Tennessee, and
they were FaceTiming the other day.
They have a very good, solid relationship.
Sure,
I can definitely see them. The chemistry is not going to be an issue. He will fit in right there in that system.
I agree.
And B, you just go back to this past year. Tennessee, definitely was not really relevant for many years. And they kind of hit some ins and outs.
They did,
but
they've got a good core though.
But this year, we saw the potential for this team. Obviously, they came out more late. He only got a 6 seed of the wild card.
But then they ran the table.
But there was a feeling, I think, from some teams. Obviously Kansas City was the favorite, and obviously the Ravens. But there was a feeling that if there was any team that was going to make noise in the postseason this year on either side, it was going to be this team, because they are built the way we've seen other teams win Super Bowls, particularly at the New York Giants.
Correct.
You have a solid defense.
Yep.
You have an amazing run game. Derrick Henry is something. Let me tell you,
he
is something.
He's a stud,
and he's only just getting started. He definitely has a few more years ahead of him to do some serious.
It came out of almost nowhere.
And you saw Ryan Tannehill be what we expected out of Ryan Tannehill.
Well, let me say this: they didn't win games because of him.
Miami was high in Tannehill, and just he could never get over the hump. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there was definitely some other.
But they found ways to win.
But we saw what happens when you bring Tannehill. Well, I don't think he's an amazing quarterback.
No,
but he
got the job done.
But he's I hate to use the word system quarterback, but we do hear that a lot, which is not really a bad thing. It just means somebody who can manage the game and the assets around him.
Correct.
And we saw Ryan Tannehill in big moments this postseason do that amazing things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they ran into the juggernaut of Kansas City.
They did,
but they were leading at halftime.
They were.
They were there. So, I mean, to see a team that close,
Right.
and again, no disrespect to Ryan Tannehill, but you bring Tom Brady into that situation, and maybe a little rough the first few games, but if Tom Brady
gets going,
if Tom Brady really feels he has what he wants to believe he has, I guarantee if he goes to Tennessee this year, they will be a contender.
Right. No, you know what? And also just to touch down on that, I know to kind of close out this topic, but he recently just purchased a home in Greenwich, but word on the street from that I'm hearing and seeing all over the internet and just whatever you want to believe through that is that him and Giselle were looking at places in Nashville recently, and that would, in my opinion, go hand in hand with potentially him being very interested in playing there.
Well, we have that much money, Dave. I mean, you can go anywhere, right?
We talked about this, and the idea of being able to just uproot yourself and start over. Exactly. But no, with that being said too, I just don't see him going back. I'm not to say anything's broken in New England, but I just don't see the same. It just doesn't feel the same in terms of like the unit.
Well, when you talk to some New England Patriots fans that we know,
well, they all want him back.
They all want him back, but you can sense it in their voices when you talk to them.
Absolutely,
they feel like this is it. Like
they do,
and obviously they're grateful and they want to see their success continue.
I would be,
but any dynasty in sports over the years, when you know that it's the dynasty's coming to an end, and we knock on wood here because we always say that, and then next year New England. But we're gonna see how New England fare without their star quarterback. Assuming this happens, it's gonna be I think Bill Belichick's biggest challenge moving forward if he is without Tom Brady next year.
Do you think that if Tom Brady, once free agency does essentially kick off, it's what, next week?
I believe it's let's see. Yeah, I think it's next week. I believe the 15th is the first day of free agency.
Do you believe he waits it out and talks to teams, or do you believe he signs somewhere right away if he does go somewhere?
I don't see it happening right away, but I think he's establishing pretty early, before the deadline.
That he's not going to come back.
Well, not even just necessarily that. I think what he really needs to do is listen to teams and really understand what they're willing to offer. Because, there's a saying that grass is green on their side, but maybe it's not. Maybe Tom reaches out to some of these teams. He's never had the opportunity to kind of do this.
Nope.
So maybe he does. Maybe he goes to a Tennessee. Maybe he goes to a Vegas. Maybe he goes to a Chicago. And, he hears their pitch, he gets the offer, and maybe he realizes that, what? I'm just better off being in New England. I'm better off just being like a Derek Jeter and a Kobe Bryant. Stay my career in one place, and just kind of live it out. I deserve it. Maybe I take less money,
right?
If that's what it comes down to.
Well, he's already made a buttload.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not scrapping.
Having Giselle as your wife probably helps a lot too. So.
I mean, sorry, Rachel, but that's
I hear you
for sure. So like I said, to kind of close out, I don't see him coming back. I'd be very surprised if he does.
Absolutely.
And I think he's going to land in Tennessee.
Absolutely.
That's where I stand.
I agree too. All right, so should we move on to our next topic, Dave?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so this kind of do a little 180 here, and obviously this podcast just started today, so we were around a month ago, and the unfortunate news happened that Kobe Bryant unfortunately passed away from us in a horrific helicopter crash. But Dave, I just want to get kind of open forum here. We know what your thoughts are on the legacy of Kobe Bryant. What you'll remember most about what he brought to the sports world on a day in day out basis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think because I could talk for hours about it, but going back to my initial point that I told you earlier, that I followed a lot of players in the NBA, and I kind of stopped following a team specifically as much. So I mean, I definitely, because being in Connecticut, which is half New England, half tri-state, if you will, it's hard to not root for the Celtics, but at the same time, I also root for them because of Kemba Walker and some of the players that I do like that played for them. But kind of I digress. And on that note, he made many Celtics fans over the years, Kobe Bryant.
Absolutely.
Very upset with how he played against them, and just with the rivalry, the LA, Boston, and the NBA. It's probably, honestly, a top 3 rivalry in sports.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe, you know what I mean?
The history of that, yeah.
Right, behind the Auburn, Alabamas, Yankees, Red Sox. It's for sure up there with the greats. But
and we're New York sports fans, so we tend to be sometimes anti-Boston, but we can't argue the greatness of the Boston Celtics.
No, absolutely.
You can't argue the Los Angeles Lakers.
Nope.
And you're right, Dave. That is part of it's the longevity of the rivalry too.
It's
obviously,
sure.
but they're also the two most successful NBA franchises in terms of championships. But yeah, when Kobe was there, I mean, I would argue it's any team really. Kobe can go to any arena anyway, or at the Staples Center, any team, and he can unload. And obviously there's a lot of great moments with Kobe Bryant. To me, nothing beats the 81-point performance.
That was incredible.
Toronto, and it's not just that he had 81 points.
And even on his final game against Utah, he dropped 50 or something like that.
Yeah. But he did it in three. He did it in 3 quarters. He did it in 3 quarters on a very controversial night.
Yeah,
and
it was incredible.
And that's my favorite moment of Kobe Bryant. Again, I was obviously when he was playing, I wasn't a huge fan of him, just because I was a Knicks fan, I guess if you want to call it. But when all's said and done, you can't hate or disrespect what he meant to NBA.
Well, to kind of and yeah, we can talk about his basketball. His basketball relevance all day, and we can utter and remind our viewers and everybody and ourselves that every time, or at least for me, it was kind of a childhood. Screw that. Even in my 20s, I would occasionally throw and crumple up a piece of paper and throw it into the trash and yell Kobe. It was
be a trademark right there.
Right. And no, but so away from basketball and all the great stuff he did on the court, a lot of why I want to give this topic light because of the father he was. To his 3 girls and the husband he was to his wife and from the impact that he did have on a lot of people off the court, which is why we end up talking about a lot of these athletes, whether it be in the negative light or in the positive light for whatever reason. And I liked Kobe a lot more off the court, obviously, for a lot of different reasons, and learning a lot about his impact on women's sports and the impact he was having on young girls and supporting women's basketball.
There was a lot of talk that Gio's going to go to UConn.
Gigi wanted to go to UConn. Gio. But no, he brought her to games from LA to stores, man. And they would come and sit and they'd have, daddy-daughter time and watch basketball. And, I'd see them in their UConn gear, and, Kobe would talk to Gino, and that's another staple right there, not even at UConn, but in the basketball world. Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, and keep in mind, one of the great things about Kobe, too, is he was one of the first players to forego college.
Yes.
Yeah. And, a lot of people sometimes forget that a little bit.
Was he the first, or was he...
I think Kevin Garnett might have been before that, I believe.
Wasn't... Yeah.
But, at time to time, I think people have kind of... But I believe so, yeah.
I thought Garnett...
I could be wrong.
No, Garnett might have, you're right.
Yeah, but Kobe Bryant, he was notorious for being one of the first mega stars to do this. Which depending on who you ask from the college level, may feel slighted that he didn't have an opportunity to participate at a college sport, but he was that good. He was that good. He did not need to waste time going to college. He could have he was able to go right in the NBA, make an impact immediately, and you have to respect how great of a player he was. And so rest in peace, Kobe. You'll definitely be missed. You definitely changed the NBA by far for the better. I don't know if anything else you want to add.
No, like I said, I could talk about it for hours because it brings up a whole nother array of topics that we could discuss that aren't as related to sports, but directly related to Kobe and to basketball. I think we've done it. I think we've done it justice. And like I said, I don't want to. There's only so much you can, talk about it and have a smile on your face. So it's just something I did want to mention right off the bat, because it was, as much as, even if like we said, we weren't massive NBA guys, this transcended basketball and it transcended sports. It went beyond that. So it was hard to ignore. So that's all. But I think I covered what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and if you guys any other comments you want to add, again, feel free to
please.
Our YouTube app, post in our discussion section if you want us to bring this up again. If you want to hit on different key areas, feel free, or just send your condolences or just your thoughts, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so ready to move on to our next topic.
Yeah. No, let's keep going. This is so. New York, the New York Rangers.
Favorite topic.
Back in the first half of the season and even in the beginning part, right up after the All-Star break, there was no freaking chance that this team was making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They are now sitting 4 points behind the second wild card spot.
Yep. And
with about 15, 16 games left to go.
Yeah, I would say more? Maybe. I think they played about 68 games. I think they have 14 games left, something like that.
About 14 games left. About 4 games back. It's doable, Eric.
It's very doable. It's
to say it's gonna happen. They still have work to do, clearly. But to be 4 points back from where they were, it's incredible. This is a young team.
We know the thing about the NHL season, and I think this is a big difference between the NHL and NBA, and I'm not trying to slate the NBA, but I find that in the NHL there is a lot more parity. Sure. I feel like in the NBA, you get, especially after the free agency, hits and everyone knows where they're going, it's pretty much set in stone who the contenders are going to be. Obviously you have the Clippers and the Lakers in the West.
Yep.
The Bucks and the Celtics and Sixers.
Yep.
In the NHL, there's going to be favorites, and obviously when you have Ovechkin, you have Sidney Crosby, you have the State Capitals,
having certain players,
and the Stanley Cup champions, the Blues, they're going to be a factor. I think the West actually is a little more of a wild card. I think the East, you have some more defined favorites.
Now,
For the Bruins, they were so close last year, but they came back the same firepower.
They did.
In Tampa Bay, which I call the Rangers South, by the way, because half the Rangers are down there, with Cal,
or have played there, because they left. Yeah,
but nevertheless, John Moore, he's a fantastic coach.
He is,
and they play fast, aggressive. Boston's more of a physical kind of team. With but Tampa Bay, one thing they try to do is they try to play with speed, and so. Going back to the Rangers here, this is a young team. And
one of the youngest, I think, maybe in the NHL.
It is actually the youngest. I believe I was heard that this is the youngest team. I mean, you got kids, barely able to drink alcohol legally. I'm just going to put that out there. Capo Caco, number 2 overall pick this year. I think I go back to the draft, and there was big conversation about the 1-2 pick, which was the Devils and the Rangers. Devils take Jack Hughes number 1.
Yep.
And the Rangers get Capo Caco.
Right.
And there was a feeling like, is this the next Ovechkin Crosby?
Yep.
And you obviously as a Ranger fan, you say, well, as long as I get one of those kind of guys, then you're happy because you get a star player. But unfortunately, what we've seen is that these players are still too young. We haven't quite seen the explosiveness we expected to have Jack Hughes. And, Capo Caco, he has the speed. He's a fast player. He has very good fundamentals. But one thing I observe is that he doesn't shoot enough. And
think about who else is taking shots.
Mm-hmm.
Those shots away from him.
Well, no, it's not even that, Dave. I think it's just there's situations where when you're playing, and I'm a hockey player. I'm not an amazing hockey player, but I play, and unless you're on a breakaway, you're always gonna have options, and your options are always pass, shoot, or deke.
Yep.
And so part of being a good player is knowing the right times to do each scenario. And, he's got, I believe he has a lot of assists this year. I'm going to check my stats, but I'm pretty sure he's definitely having, a pretty good season. Let's see where Capo is. And he's got, right now he has 8 goals and 13 assists. And he's played, how many? He's played 64 games. So he's basically played the entire season, hasn't really missed any time. He's a minus 27 right now. So, obviously defensively, he needs to, pick up his pace though. But I won't say he's having a bad season. I think the problem is that when you're 18 or 19 in the NHL, you really have to, grow into it. Like any sport, really. If you're a rookie, you have things to learn. And there's going to be growing pains. There just are. Exactly. So I don't care how good you are. But I think what's inspiring about this team is that you think about all these names, and these are names you haven't heard before. And you Buchnevich and Fox. Adam Fox to me. Even Hedl. Hedl's up and coming. I would say Adam Fox has been great. I would say that the players that excite me the most right now are Adam Fox. Chris Kreider obviously getting the extension. That to me that was huge. But he's injured right now, so he's injured. But you know what? You're not winning cup this year. You just know. Obviously, to make the playoffs would be nice. Sure, but of course, even if they do not make the playoffs this year, this season is by far a success because you have based on expectations. You have a super young team who you can only expect to finish near the bottom, and they are 4 points out of a playoff spot. Right in March. Right. You can slice this any way you want. You can be objective, subjective, and you can be the fan who says, "Oh, they should be in the playoffs regardless." No, this is a young team that's learning how to play together.
They are.
They're not.
They really are.
You don't really have a lot of pieces to get rid of. Stahl's a little old. Maybe he gets dumped. But I mean, but go back to last week though. The 5-goal game.
Mika Zibanejad.
I mean,
the kid from Ottawa. No, I mean
that was an inspiring performance, and I think Mika, he's obviously, I think he's 26, 27, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
But on this team, that's a veteran.
Correct. Right.
On this team, that's a veteran. So when you see your veteran have that kind of performance, I can only imagine it inspires the team to play hard. So
well, Eric, they've got eight possible points up for grabs in the next week.
Yeah, and like I said, the one great thing about the NHL, like if I'm watching a Warriors, Lakers game right now, I know the Warriors have no chance to win, in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because the Warriors they're in last place right now.
They do. How many wins do they have?
I can't. Not a lot. I think the Knicks have more than they wins in the NBA.
They do. The Knicks do, and that's sad.
But I'll say this: in the NHL, and particularly in hockey, it's such an intense game. It's such a bounce game. There's a lot of lucky bounces.
There are.
On any night, any team can win any game.
Well, subjectively or objectively, couldn't that be said about any sport?
It can be, but I get
what you mean about hockey.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other sports. I'm just saying. I'm saying with the NHL, it is true. It's
I can see that.
Odds are, if the Yankees and the Bruins play each other in a 7-game series, the Bruins are probably going to win that series, in 5 or 6.
Based on where the Flyers are playing now, so with the Flyers.
But hey, the Rangers can steal a couple games. So
sure.
I mean, it's proof that. It's there's a lot of parity.
There is a ton, much more so.
It's so tight from top to bottom, and like I said, if the Rangers in the Western Conference right now, they'd be in a wild.
They would be.
Spot.
They would be.
I mean that goes to show you the strength of all these teams.
Yeah.
So I leave it at that. I'm excited for the Rangers team. Obviously, we want to see them keep winning. It's a little frustrating, like any fan, when you see your team lose. Especially when they lost the Devils on Sunday.
I know that was. But then to come back and score 4.
Yeah, but
who was in goal? Was it Gorgiev?
That's the Devils?
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. Igor came back in.
He did.
And a lot of people were questioning if he belonged in that game.
Right.
I say it is what it is. I mean, if he thought he was good enough to go, who's the coach to say no? I think it's very clear right now, and Henrik knows the writings on the wall that,
he does.
He's on the way
He's not
out.
stupid.
Georgiev, I think he's a solid backup. To say he'd be a good starting goalie, I think is questionable right now. But like I said, you being a Wolfpack fan, you probably saw Igor a bunch of times in Hartford
this season.
This season, and all I kept hearing before he got called up, all you heard was just amazing things about this guy. And here he is at the NHL, and he's 9-2 right now, if you can believe it.
That's wild.
9-2, and the second loss again was on Sunday, and you can throw it away as a stinker, or maybe coming back from injury, he was kind of just not there. But outside of that,
dude, we're 8 points out of the Metropolitan. Right behind Pittsburgh. We're not going to catch it. We're gonna, like we said, we're going to be wild. We're going to be lucky to get a wild card spot.
Exactly. But like I said, you have to. If they miss the playoffs, which I'd say right now it's a 50-50 kind of thing.
It is. Will they have to get hot?
I think it comes down to looking at their schedule and kind of seeing who they're actually playing.
I think they can only afford 4 losses the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest weakness right now on this team is defense. I mean, in their last winning streak, they definitely tightened things up. Their goals against went down a little bit. I think Igor, had a big role in that. Their penalty kill is not that great. That kind of showed in some of these games.
Yeah.
They have really good power play.
They do.
Which, if you're a Rangers fan, for decades, that you haven't seen a power play this good since the Stanley Cup team.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe they're ranked 7th right now. There are a lot of games where power play is the only way they score, which maybe not a great thing, but you see the growth, you see the potential, and as long as you see that moving forward, I mean, now again, next year, the bar's been set off this year.
Yes, it has. Well, that's why the expectations will actually be high.
They're fighting for a playoff spot. That means you can only think that next year they will be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they don't, be disappointment.
Correct.
But the other thing too is there's 31 other teams now because of this Seattle.
Yeah. The Seattle Kraken.
Is that the name? The Kraken?
The Kraken.
Oh, that's I heard something like that. Okay.
Love it.
Yeah, I felt the same way about the Pelicans in New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, part of it too is that, like I said, because you have so much parity in this league, You do have to factor in that, the Rangers getting better, but there's going to be some other teams getting a lot better too, and you have to take that in consideration. So it's important that they don't take their foot off the pedal, that they continue their development of their young players.
Yeah, right.
They get more cohesion. I would say if there's any corrections made in the offseason, figure out players that can help you tighten up defensively.
Yeah.
And with that, full blessing. I said, if they make the playoffs, I'll be happy. If not, I'm still happy. Go Rangers.
Go Rangers. I hope they make the playoffs. And this will not be the last time we bring up this playoff race.
Oh, absolutely no. Especially if they make the playoffs. Because, as long as they're in the playoffs, we're going to want to talk about this team. And really kind of, our fandom.
Correct.
We're more just kind of dissect it at another level and kind of see where this goes.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Great.
All right.
So moving along here, we're going to, we're kind of diving our way through here some of the topics.
Yeah.
But the last topic isn't going to be as in length just right now. We're going to wait to see also how the week plays out. But to kind of give you some context to what I just said, the UConn men's basketball team just played their last regular season game against an American Athletic Conference opponent, being the Tulane, the Green Wave. They beat them. It was kind of ugly, but they got the win, and a win is a win in any sport, so you'll take it. But now they're going to have to rebound, hop on a plane in 3 days, and play Tulane again in the first round.
Okay, I know the matchup. Okay, that could be interesting.
They're the 5 seed, so they'll play Tulane. Wow. If they can get by Tulane, they'll play a Wichita State team who beat them earlier in the year in overtime. So hopefully there'll be some revenge for that one, and potentially get an injured Cincinnati team after that. And then who knows who will be awaiting them in a championship game.
So we're paving an outlook here.
I'm paving an outlook because you know what? It's UConn in March, Eric.
So Dave, I want to start with a pretty interesting question here. Is how far? Because I believe you showed me something that shows that UConn right now is the next 4 out right now, according to some projections on ESPN.
Yes.
How far do they have to go in this tournament? Do you think to make the NCAA? Do they have to win it all? Can they get close? What do you think it's going to take for them to get to punch the tickets to the big dance?
David speaking here.
I'm glad it's David. Yeah,
it's me. It's definitely hey guys.
All right here. Yeah.
No, I think surefire the only way is for them to win the tournament.
Absolutely.
But like you just mentioned, there are reports saying that they are pushing bubble talk in consideration. So it'll be interesting to see, and I think it's all going to determine who they play. So if they get to the semis, here's the issue. The only other team that's being thought of on the bubble is Wichita State, and they might get to play them in the next round of the tournament if they beat Tulane on Thursday. Because it starts on Thursday.
Yes.
And I think they have a 3 p.m. start, so they get by that. Another 3:15 start would be against Wichita State, and if they get to the next day, Cincinnati, I think it's a 3:30 start.
Okay.
And then the championship game on Sunday would more than likely unless there's a massive upset, Cincinnati is going to be awaiting someone.
Or Houston, probably, right?
That's what I meant. Yeah. What did I just say?
Yeah, you said Cincinnati again.
Cincinnati again. It cannot beat them twice.
But I have to be
Houston.
Yeah. Which UConn did
They
win.
Just took them down on a home court. They beat them by a 6-7.
Yeah.
They looked good. They played well. But again, I think the home crowd helped. But again, they're going to be in Dallas for this tournament. There are some UConn alum that come to tournaments in Texas. So it'll be. But then again, there are also 2 teams in the conference from Texas, SMU.
And think about it, they've won championships in Texas. They do love Texas. They love Madison Square Garden, but they also love Texas.
They do. I don't know what's in the water down there.
Yeah.
But so it'll be interesting to see. Like I said though, I don't see them getting in without an automatic bid.
Okay.
I just don't. And another Connecticut tie-in real quick that I'll mention really quick. Hartford, University of Hartford, won their first America East game. What's today? Monday on Saturday, so they will play Stony Brook in the next round in the semis of the America East, and they're not going to go to the tournament. That bid or that league is a automatic qualifier. They're going to get 1 team in.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting.
You don't think they're going to be able to win the whole thing?
I think they could, but I think they're going to have to get by a really strong. Vermont team, not Vermont. Who would be a really strong Vermont team.
Okay.
Who's usually
so also American East for basketball. So I'm familiar with American East for UConn hockey, and we'll talk about that on another episode.
Well, that's the Hockey East.
Yeah.
Yes.
Besides that, I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with Hockey East.
Yeah. That's just
to me, it's like America East, I guess, because you have some of the similar teams. But But yeah, you know,
I just like I said, I don't see them getting in without winning the 4 games in 4 days.
Okay.
There are people saying that if they beat Wichita, they'll be right on the bubble. Mm-hmm. But again, you don't want to give the committee the decision.
So yeah, see, I mean, obviously winning the automatic qualifier, makes all the problems go away. But I'll say this, this team has had a very roller coaster season.
Very.
I remember.
It's almost been the tale of 3 seasons, man.
They won a bunch of games. They were I think they were 9-3 at one point, right before the New Year.
Yep.
And then they started AAC play on New Year, and they were not ready for the competition.
Not at all.
I mean, you have to win your conference games. You have to show you're a threat at the conference level.
But let's also give some, not credit, but let's point out some blatant reasons as to maybe why.
Well, there's injuries, of course. We'll start with the injuries.
We have the hamstring injury to Tyler Polley, who had surgery. That was right after the New Year. Mm-hmm. He was our 3-point guy, 6'9" guy who can shoot very well. So we've been missing him for the latter part of the second half of the season, if not. And then we had Sidney Wilson at one point go out, and then we had the big blow, which was a Cook, who tore his Achilles, who is now looking at anywhere from an 8 to 11 month recovery time. Mm-hmm. And even at that, guys with his stature sometimes don't come back. And that's kind of the crappy part because, he's there to be an enforcer, a defensive guy. He alters shots. He wasn't, an offensive master guy, but he definitely made impacts. Mm-hmm. And so his presence that's part of why, we had to gel again. Guys had to reassert themselves into their roles. And then we had a guy who really didn't come off the bench very much, Isaiah Whaley, who's now playing essentially most of, if not all the minutes of every game, and he's
had some good games though.
But Vital has woken up.
Yes,
Christian Vital has woken up.
And again, it's obviously you lose pieces, and that really hampers your ability to do make any impact. But
it does.
If you have a next minute mentality and they're capable of doing it, anything can happen.
Few of them have stepped up to the plate, and again, like we said, it's UConn in March. We've seen some crazy stuff happen, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's the reasons you just pointed out. I think I look at this UConn team the way I just kind of described myself as a Rangers fan is that you factor in everything they went through, things they can control, things they cannot control.
Correct.
And you say, you know what? Next year you're going to the Big East. You're clearly on the up and up.
They are, which is good.
You'd like to be able to end your run in the American. However you feel about being in the American the last 7 years, you want to end on a high note.
Yep, for sure.
Whatever that high note comes out to, whether it's running yourself through the AAC tournament, getting close, just getting a bid, winning a few games, and whatever success you want to find, so be it. I would say, as a UConn alumni, nothing makes you happier than to see your team go back to its roots.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely
the biggie. So we'll see how the cards unfold here. Again, there's not a ton of expectation for this team to do a lot
much of anything.
But
that's when they thrive, Eric. Let's also look at that.
You know what? We're fans. We're gonna root hard for them. We're gonna push, and we'll be disappointed when they do lose.
Eric,
and we saw some games that were tough. I think that I watched the double OT against Temple. That one was a tough one.
I know the double. That was a big one.
But like I said, this team, they have a lot to look forward to, and Dan Hurley, I think,
You think he's the guy?
It's going to take a few years, I think, for this team to fully get where it wants to be, but ultimately, and no knock against Kevin Ollie. I know there's a lot of
there's a lot
issues right there, and obviously, but what people don't want to necessarily come out and say is that Kevin Ollie, when he won his title in 2014, really still had Calhoun's team.
He did.
The seniors, Boatwright and Shabazz Napier, these were still Calhoun descendants.
DeAndre Daniels, Niels Giffey.
And one of the things I think about Ali that's important is that he to me is a player's coach.
Yep.
He's
he absolutely
he's a motivator.
Yes, he is.
But I think where he fell short was that he did not know how to recruit.
Yeah.
And when I think X knows, I won't say he doesn't know basketball. He definitely knows his basketball. But when you're competing against the likes of a Coach K or a Tom Izzo, you just don't. You're just not at that level. And I think that's ultimately what doomed Ali. But I look at Dan Hurley. I think. I think his goal here is to try to find some young talent, motivate them. I think he really is looking for good talent that he can develop, and And I think he has a good game plan to get this team where they need to be in a few years.
I'm going to ask you a simple yes or no question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you realistically see them winning 4 games in 4 days and make an NCAA tournament? I know if I asked you, do you want it to happen? Your obvious answer is yes. So is mine. But do you realistically think that they can pull it off?
I think you look at what they've done since that 1-5 start in the conference, where they've basically gone 10. I want to say 10 and I would say 8-5. I think they've gone since they started 1-5 because they're 10-8. No, sorry, 8-3.
8-3 since then.
Or not 9-3. So I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. They've gone 9-3 since that 1-5 start. Yeah. I don't know if that's with the injuries happening.
Right.
They've gone 9-3, and this is not the bottom feeders. I mean, like I said, they've beaten Houston.
Memphis.
They beat South. So clearly, they can
compete.
They can compete as shorthanded as they are. They can compete in this conference,
which is what I ultimately want.
Do I consider them the favorites to do it? No, I do not.
No,
but I do see a path where if the chips fall right, if this team comes out and plays hard, if the buckets drop, there is a realistic path that this team could do it. But obviously, it starts with Tulane, and and like you said, man, against the sub-500 teams, he have it that close late in that game. That's all you need to know. We have to take it one game at a time.
Right, absolutely.
Don't be thinking Sunday.
Yep.
Start with Thursday. And let
yep.
each game come to you.
I agree.
And like I said, over the years we've seen this UConn team do some fantastic things in their tournament play.
Right.
Kemba Walker against Pittsburgh. The triple overtime game in Cincinnati a few years ago
with Jalen Adams.
That wasn't good. Even though UConn doesn't always make it as far as you like, you can't erase those amazing games. Even the 6 overtime Syracuse game.
I know.
I mean,
the old Big East days.
And that's like I said. Like, you're closing out the American, but you're coming into something so much bigger. You're returning to your roots. Every UConn fan I know, they are excited to be back in the Big East.
Even though it's a completely different Big East, but
So
the only team that's still really around is Villanova.
Yeah. But I said we'll be a little sad. However the season plays out, if we don't make it all the way.
Right.
But we know that there's brighter things to come.
And that's kind of where I stand as well. I think we're on the up and up.
Mm-hmm.
The expectations this year were not an NCAA title. So, coming back down to earth, as much as I would love them to, I don't think they can. But if they come out and treat, like you just said, treated every game, like that game and don't get too far ahead of themselves, I think that they can maybe do it.
Yeah.
So I guess time will tell, huh?
Exactly. So UConn Tulane 3:00 on Thursday
on ESPNU, right?
ESPNU, yes.
And where do you know where they're playing, Eric? It's in Fort Worth. I just don't know what arena.
What's the one the Mavericks playing, right?
That's in Dallas. No, they're playing in Fort Worth. They're playing in Fort Worth.
I should probably know these things, Dave.
No, I don't. That's why I'm even asking. I don't know because they're not playing where SMU plays. They're not playing in Dallas.
Let's see.
I'm actually really curious. And you know what?
Yeah.
To anyone listening,
if you guys know, send a comment on our YouTube app.
Well, there it is.
Yep.
We'll click it. Does it say?
At Dickey's
Arena in Fort Worth.
I'd never heard of Dickey's Arena. Let's see who.
Dickey's Arena.
Yeah.
It's a 14,000 seat though. That's not small.
Yeah. No, it's a good size.
That's just under the XL Center, like we have in Hartford.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wait, who does play there?
I don't know. I think it's just an arena. I think. There's a lot of rodeos. Yeah. TCU maybe. I don't know. Yeah, maybe TCU.
TCU might play there.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
I think.
But,
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Like we said, 3:00 ESPNU, UConn Tulane. Check it out. That's going to kind of wind us down for this, initial podcast. We had a blast doing it. Like Eric said, we do have the YouTube channel that there will be more than likely content via there. And I am going to, in the next day or two, set up or finish setting up the social media accounts, both Instagram and Facebook, where you guys will be able to follow and get links to YouTube and also links to to SoundCloud, where all of our episodes will be in unison. So again, this is episode number 1, introductions. And I am, again, one of your co-hosts, David.
I'm Eric, and I hope you guys enjoyed this today.
And we'll see you next time. And before I forget, I will also post topics to be discussed next week on social media. So be on the lookout for that. Some weeks we will tell you in the actual podcast, and other weeks, especially since this is kind of the first one. We're playing around with things. We will let you know via social media and other means that way, and through our email. And if you have any suggestions on topics, please reach out. Again, it's runwithit24@gmail.com. No spaces. RUNWITHIT 24 at gmail.com. So we'll see you next time, guys.
All right, take care.
Take care.